What's up guys, welcome to your 14th Photoshop tutorial, and in this tutorial I know it's going to be an exciting one because we're going to be talking about blurring an image. Now unlike last time where we contrasted it, blurring pretty much like kind of blends all the pixels together to give it a nice blur. So the first blur I'm going to be going over three of the most useful ones. The other ones are kind of repetitive, but anyways, I'm going over three, so get ready for it. Go ahead and select a layer. I have this sign layer selected. In fact, I'll zoom up a little bit more. There we go. And the first one we're going to be over is called the Gaussian blur. So go ahead and put filter, and make sure you got your layer selected. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. It's one of the ones in the middle. And this is probably one of the most useful blurs, and the one that gives you a quick control over your blur. Now the radius is pretty much the amount of blur you have right there. So anytime you see radius in the settings, it's pretty much the amount of blur. And as you can see, blur does pretty much exactly what you think it's going to do: blur your image. So that's one way to blur your image, and probably the one we're going to be using the most. There's another blur that I use quite frequently, filter, blur, motion blur right here. And what this does is it gives you the appearance that the camera was moving during the time where you took this image or took this photograph. So the distance is pretty much exactly like you think it would be. It pretty much would be the speed of the car or whatever when you're moving. So for example, when I went this morning to the library to get the book Along Came a Spider by James Patterson, and they didn't have it, so I was mad, and then I asked how many people before me, and they said 5 people are on the waiting list. So I was depressed, and I drove 80 miles an hour down a back road and cried myself to sleep. If I took a picture then the photograph would probably look like this. But anyways, enough about that. Oh, I wish I had that book. So go ahead and cancel that. And the last blur I'm going to talk to you guys about is called a lens blur. So go ahead and press filter, blur, lens blur. And what this blur is it is designed for, let's see, how can I explain this? When people take photographs with cameras and you get that natural optical blur, this is what that tries to recreate. So you have a bunch of settings here. I'm not going to go over all of them because some of them are useless. But your preview right here is you can either get more accurate or faster preview. Faster is faster, and it's also pretty accurate, so just leave it on faster. The depth map, the source, if you have none, it'll do everything. If you have transparency, it'll only affect the transparent pixels. And if you have mask, it'll only affect your layer mask, and we don't have a mask now, so let's just leave this to none. The radius again is the amount of your curve, and this entire box right here with radius, blade curve, rotation, and shape. This represents the iris of the camera. So pretty much just leave it whatever it is, and radius is the strength of your blur. Now this noise is, sometimes people like to add noise because sometimes like having a perfect looking image isn't realistic. So, and if we're adding a lens blur, then sometimes that's the case. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. I'm going to show you a useful application for this. Now say we wanted to, if you're looking at this photograph right now, this sign is in focus, the sign is in focus, and everything else is pretty much in focus. But sometimes if we were taking it with a professional camera, this wouldn't be the case. So what we would want to do is apply a mask to this and make the background out of focus. So you know when sometimes the foreground's in focus and the background's out of focus? Let's do that right now. So let's first go ahead and add a mask by using this add layer mask, and now we see a white box pop up right here. Now anything we draw with black is going to be the mask, and anything you draw with white is going to be not a mask. So go ahead and pick your quick selection tool, because I'm too lazy to paint it all, and go ahead and actually I want to add my selection right here, and let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit, and I want to get this Oh yeah, I want to get this white border too, but I see a problem already that the little stoops on the apartment are white. Ooh, it's not. Oh yeah, I got some. See, so I'm gonna have to. Oh, got some more. Embarrassing. So once you select all that, and you also probably want to select this pole too, then you can go ahead and deselect your selection right here. So let's go ahead, deselect, 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 and deselect, and one more. Damn. And now let's go ahead and paint this all black. So make sure we have black selected, and in our paint bucket tool, we'll go ahead and paint this black. Actually turns out white, but if you look in your mask right here, you can see that it's black right there. Now we have another problem. So let's go ahead and we can deselect that by holding down Control and press D. And if I zoom up on here, you can see that some of these edges are like not perfect. Like the quick selection tool, it ain't perfect. It's pretty good, but it ain't perfect, especially this edge. So what we can do is go ahead and press Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and now if we go ahead and blur this a little bit, you see they kind of smooth out a little bit. So that already helps. So go ahead and press OK. Now let's go ahead and back to our main picture right here. Zoom out, and now what we want to do is keep this in focus, but keep everything else out of focus. So now make sure you don't have your mask selected, make sure you have your layer selected, and go with Filter, Blur, Lens Blur. And now under this, instead of none, we can go ahead and press Layer Mask, and as you can see already, it takes that mask and whatever was black, it uses it as the foreground. So it takes that mask and it doesn't blur anything in our mask, it only blurs what's outside the mask. So if I make this radius, make it a little bit stronger, and toggle it off and on, so toggle it off and on, you can really see that this would probably what would happen if you had a camera lens like a professional photographer, which I am not, but I can pretend to be one in Photoshop, and it would bring one object into focus and another object out of focus. So that is your quick tutorial on, and of course you wouldn't really want to bring it that out of focus. Probably something like that would be more realistic, but for the purposes of YouTube, I'm going to blow this baby up so you guys can definitely see. So anyways, that's your quick tutorial on how to bring some objects in focus, some objects out of focus using different blurs. And I'm gonna probably go to another town and look for my Along Came a Spider by James Patterson book, since it is nowhere in my city I am, and I need to find it because I want to read it real bad. But you can keep practicing with Photoshop, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.